listening to HSAIR, Homeschool Alumni's Internet Radio. I'll be your host for this edition, Eric Van Vleet. Right now, Josh is a little bit too busy to host HSAIR, so he asked me to host it for him this time. It's like he's busy planning a wedding or something. I don't know. Anyway, we've got a great show lined up for you today. We've got interviews with Josiah Barrett, Benjamin and Grace Smith, who are the founders of Camp David at the Ozarks, and Josiah Detweiler, Director of Operations at Akron Fossils Science Center. So let's get to it. First up, Emilie C has an interview with Josiah Barrett.
Josiah, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. To start off, can you tell us about your homeschool background?
Okay, well, as far as homeschooling background, I homeschooled actually at the house through 8th grade. My mom taught me. And like I was telling you before, my dad runs a private Christian school here in the valley, and so he's the main teacher for high school. And so I went in for my high school years there and mainly got taught by him, but there's a few other teachers for like science and a few other classes. I had some other teachers, but mainly I've always been taught by my parents.
How did you find HSA?
Through my sister, Emilie. She told me about it and was the one that talked me into getting on there.
Well, are you glad she did?
Yeah, it's been fun. I've met some neat people, and I enjoy knowing that there's a lot more homeschoolers out there in the community that it develops.
Now, what led you to get into cattle ranching?
Actually, I've wanted to farm ever since I was 3, my mom says. So it's always been my desire, and I love the lifestyle. I love I love raising cattle, and I love horses, and I love open space, and so it really has fit me well, and I love it, and so that's where I've gone with my desire to farm and produce food.
So what is a typical day like for you?
A typical day is a lot of hard work. I would say that ranching is probably one of the harder as far as physical labor goes, because it's always outdoors, and especially if, as I am right now, a ranch hand, that means I'm doing a lot of the physical work. You do everything, at least for me, I do everything from irrigation, which is morning and evening, to riding the range, moving mother cows and their pairs, and then on the particular place I'm worked on, raises his own beef yearlings and then butchers them and sells direct to the customer. So we also have those cows to deal with that a lot of other ranchers don't, and we grass feed them, intensive grass feed them, and so we're moving them all the time, and plus we're raising hay, and so we're haying, and those are just the basic things we're always doing.
What's the best thing about working on a ranch? What is your favorite aspect?
My favorite thing about working on a ranch is I love being outdoors. I love having my hands in the dirt. I love hard work, actually. I enjoy it, and you're out in the wide open, you're free. You have a free feeling. I think that's what I like. I love being with animals, so I spend a lot of hours on a horseback, and in nature. I mean, when I'm riding the range, I mean, it's huge. You can look out over a tremendous amount of country and see a lot of God's creation, and it makes you marvel at it and makes you feel small, but another time it makes you know how powerful God is, how great He is.
Tell us about your goals for the future.
Well, my goals for the future are, as far as ranching goes, I want to own my own ranch, and a lot of what I've been explaining as far as what he does, I want to do. In other words, I want to do things naturally, the way God created things to be done. So I want to be organic, and I want to direct market, so I want to have contact with the customers that I'm working with. They can come out, see the ranch, see how it's done, know exactly how it's raised. I can talk to them, I can help them in any ways, and there's actually a relationship with my customers. And so, yeah, that's the goal. And then another reason I chose ranching is I think it's a great lifestyle for raising a family, and I have a goal to raise a family, and so I hope that I'm have a ranch that I can raise my family on, and so that's another goal of mine.
Josiah, thank you so much for being with us on HSAIR today.
You're welcome.
If you would attain to what you are not yet, you must always be displeased by what you are. For where you are pleased with yourself, there you have remained. But once you have said, "It is enough," you are lost. Keep adding, keep walking, keep advancing. Do not stop, do not turn back, do not turn from the straight road. St. Augustine.
That quote was brought to you by Alyson. Now next up, we have Emilie C's interview with Benjamin and Grace Smith.
Well, I'm here with Benjamin and Grace Smith, the founders and directors of Camp David at the Ozarks. I really appreciate both of you taking the time to talk tonight. Thank you.
We're glad to be here.
Can you tell me about Camp David? Why did you start it, and what is its history?
Camp David is a summer camp for children who have a parent in prison. 5 years ago, Grace and I, we had a desire to work with missions. We had a desire to work with children. And we started praying and asking God what He had for us. And one day Grace called me up and said, "Well, what about the camping ministry?" And we didn't really know what that meant, but we began to explore the camping ministry. And Grace and I joined Christian Camping International. And at the first conference, we met Cliff and Susie Johnson, who are the directors of an angel tree camp. And they told us stories about the camp and the difference it was making in the lives of these kids. And we were really excited about it. And 2 years later, we started Camp David.
What are some unique aspects of the camp?
There's a lot of different neat things about the camp. We have one counselor for every 2 campers, which is a really big thing for these kids. A lot of these kids don't have any mentors at all. And to be able to be with an adult who cares about them and just to have their input in their lives is a really big thing. We also have a camp grandma and grandpa. The grandmas especially would write the campers letters each day about their time at camp and how glad they are that they're there. And
I usually tell them, things that they've noticed them doing throughout the day. Like I saw you sharing with another teammate today, or, just I'm praying for you. And they also read the children bedtime stories. And so they go into the covered wagon cabins, and the kids hold their flashlights for the grandmas to read. Another thing is we have a petting zoo and horse program, using animals in therapy with kids and just helping kids that, have a lot of things that they're dealing with inside of them. When you have a parent in prison, it's really, really hard. And so the horse program and petting zoo will just really help with the campers.
Another thing we do, we have people come in every night and share their testimony about the difference that God has made in their lives. A lot of these people that come in to share have come from very similar backgrounds that the campers have, and this is really big for the kids. It gives them hope that they don't have to repeat their parents' problems.
We also do birthday party for the campers. A lot of them, because their families move around so much, or they're passed from foster care to grandparents to, to all these different people, their birthdays are forgotten. And so we remember everybody's birthday at one party and give birthday gifts. And we also have a special princess dinner for the girls. And for a lot of them, they don't really feel beautiful. They don't feel special. And some of them say they've never worn a dress before in their life. And so we have a bunch of formals that have been donated, and jewelry, and we have tiaras and stuff. And so we help the girls get all dressed up, and then we take their picture. And we also have a horse-drawn carriage that picks them up and takes them over to the building. And it's just a really, really special evening for the girls.
We also teach the children Bible verses. each mealtime they learn a Bible verse, one of the 10 Commandments, and usually we have a lesson. The staff acts out about how to handle different situations in life, and we this year we called it "What Incredible People Do," but it's conflict resolution and dealing with anger and things like that.
Another thing is that we send them home with an individual photo album of them at camp. And so it would have, for the girls, their princess picture. The boys go fishing. Those pictures and pictures of their friends, of their counselors. And we send that home with them. And the parents have told us how special those albums mean to the kids.
What are you seeing with the children who attend Camp David? Can you tell us about the kind of backgrounds they came from and just touch on what's going on with them when they're at camp?
Well, obviously, they have one parent in prison. As a child of a prisoner, statistically, about 70% of them end up in prison themselves, and they're actually considered to be the most at-risk children in America today. So they have a lot going against them. Some of the kids are raised by grandparents. A lot of them are raised by a single mom or blended families. We have some kids that come from foster care system. A lot of our kids come from the city. We had one camper who came and he had 2 scars on his leg because he'd been caught in a gunfight. His niece had committed suicide in the spring of this year.
Both of his parents were in jail, and he said his nephew was being locked up, and his boy was only 12.
We had a girl come to camp who was born in prison.
She lived with her grandma.
We had a girl come to camp recently. It was actually last year. Her dad had just been sentenced to 17 years in prison, and she had a real difficult time.
She was 7 going on 8, so she was one of our youngest campers.
But she, the only thing she did eat at camp was peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and it was just one thing in her life that she could control.
One of the girls that came this year to senior camp, she had to leave her baby at home with her foster mom so that she could come to camp. So we get kids from just a lot of difficult backgrounds. Most of them have suffered abuse, and sometimes they tell stories about not enough food being in the house. A lot of them struggle with reading. A lot of them have major anger problems. And in dealing with conflicts, learning to say, I'm sorry, would you forgive me, is totally foreign to them. And yet that's one of the things that we try to teach them while they're here.
One of the neat things is by the end of camp, the kids are really reaching out to their counselors. They're learning how to say, I'm sorry, will you forgive me, and resolve conflict. They're just a whole lot more happy. Although usually a couple hours before, sometimes the night before, a camper starts slipping back into being quiet again, and more reserved because they know they're going home. So that's kind of hard.
What really breaks our hearts is when they stay up that last night before they have to go home, and they just cry a lot, or sometimes they just have to talk to their counselor for hours just to get out all the stuff that they carry at home, and it's
hard.
It's really hard.
What is it like for you to run a place like this? How has it affected you personally, and what is the most rewarding aspect of it for you?
Well, it's really neat as a couple to be have the same passion and to be working together, and I think it's done a lot to strengthen our marriage. Although there are times when it is challenging because we're pouring so much energy into the camp. We're both operating in our gifts, and that's really exciting to be able to be doing something that you enjoy doing. I really enjoy relating with kids and doing games and playing with kids, and Grace is very good at designing brochures and newsletters and
doing all the promotional stuff that needs to happen in order for the camp to be a reality.
So it's neat to be able to work together as a team. And I guess one of the most rewarding things is to see a child open up and receive love and come to know God, just not as just a person out there, but to know that God is real and that He really does care about them, and to see them receive the gift of eternal life. Oh, the other neat thing is to see the counselors and the staff and the young people that work at camp. They come to camp and they have a desire to serve God, and they have a desire to do something big, and to see how camp molds them and gives them a passion and a concern and a love for other people, and to see them reach out and start seeing life beyond themselves and seeing the needs of other people around them and caring about them.
So many of our staff have said, I've never prayed so much in 1 week, or, camp just totally transformed my life, just working with the kids, hearing their stories, and pouring love on them, and then at the same time crying out to God for His strength to keep going on when it's hot and the kids keep getting into fights or whatever. But it just draws everyone really so much closer to God.
And it's also neat to see how God provides for each one of the needs of the camp and the needs of the campers. And it's neat to see just God at work in each one of our lives.
Every day during the afternoon, we have the support staff meet, and we have a prayer time going on. And so everyone writes the prayer request on the board, and it's just so exciting to see right then, God during camp answering so many prayers, and it really builds everyone's faith.
What experiences have you had with homeschool volunteers in the past?
I would probably say about 80% of our staff are homeschoolers.
Ben and I were both homeschooled, and so we're homeschool graduates, and we homeschool our kids. And so we're, involved with our local homeschool community, and we really like to go to homeschool fairs, curriculum fairs and such. We've seen such excellence among the young people, and that they have hearts to serve and a love for children, and that they just usually are a lot more responsible and dependable.
And they know how to relate together as a team, and that's really a big plus. For a lot of these kids, they've never had a good model as far as a mother or father or somebody who cares about them. And it's neat to see, the staff. You have a young man, and yet he knows how to be gentle and care for a younger camper when he's mad, and help him through it.
How can people find out more about Camp David, and what is the best way to contact you?
We have a website, www.campdavidozarks.org. We can also be reached at 573-364-2786, or we can be emailed at
cdo@campdavidozarks.org.
We need counselors. We have 2 roles on a counselor. We have a head counselor and assistant counselor. A counselor needs to be 18 years and older. An assistant counselor needs to be 16 years old and older. We have support staff.
The support staff help from, clearing tables.
Clearing tables, cleaning the outhouses, cleaning the shower houses, doing all that stuff. Usually our support staff are 14 years and older. We need kitchen help, cooks, wranglers to help with the horses, photographer, videographer, camp nurse. We really have a need for secretary help in the office during camp. Worship leader, games director, programs director, and
the last thing would be a green team leader. That's for the leaders for the staff kids. So those people could be even ages 14 and up, depending on maturity wise. Usually there's between 4 to 8 green staff kids here.
And of course, during the off season, we're busy recruiting staff and doing work projects around the camp. We're in the process of finishing a building that will be the dining hall, kitchen, and staff housing. So we're pretty excited about that.
And we need to probably build a small place for the guys' staff next year. And so we often have youth groups and other church groups come out, and so there's always a need for just help, working on the camp.
Ben and Grace, thank you so much for being with us on HSAIR today. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you and hearing more about your ministry, and I just pray God blesses all your efforts in the future.
Thank you for having us.
This edition of HSAIR spotlights a homeschool graduate named Ben, who is the 10th of 17 children raised in poverty and obscurity. Ben was a born leader and a voracious learner. He was an early reader and impressed his family as having the makings of a scholar. Ben was enrolled in grammar school at the age of 8 for less than a year because of the expense, and was sent to school for mathematics and writing until he was 10 years old. At that point, Ben's father took him back as an apprentice in the family business. Ben described his father as a, quote, pious and prudent man, and his mother as a, quote, discreet and virtuous woman. His father enjoyed inviting a neighbor or friend for dinner-time conversation, and habitually brought up topics for discussion that might improve the minds of his children. Ben recounted later, by this means he turned our attention to whatever was good, just, and prudent in the course of life. All of Ben's money was spent on books, and he also read through his father's library, which included stories of voyages, historical works, and the writings of John Bunyan. His father decided that Ben should be employed by his brother as a printer, which gave him access to better books. Ben took every opportunity away from work to study arithmetic, navigation, and English grammar. He also read the works of Socrates, Locke's On Human Understanding, and the Art of Thinking by Antoine Arnold and Pierre Nicole, better known as the Port Royal Logic. He began to practice and experiment with the art of persuasion. As a young teen, Ben found himself in a debate with another boy over the propriety of educating females. The two friends continued their discussion through letters. Ben's father discovered and read the copies of Ben's correspondence. Later, Ben wrote, without entering into the subject in dispute, he took occasion to talk to me about my manner of writing, that though I had the advantage of my antagonist in correct spelling and pointing, which he attributed to the printing house, I fell far short in elegance of expression, in method, and in perspicuity, of which he convinced me by several instances. I saw the justice of his remarks, and thence grew more attentive to my manner of writing, and determined to endeavor to improve my style. Benjamin Franklin's aspirations to become a writer were fulfilled. He also became a statesman, founding father, diplomat, politician, and ambassador to other countries. He was the inventor of bifocal glasses, the rocking chair, the lightning rod, and the modern school desk with the desktop attached to the arm, as well as other innovations. He was president of America's first anti-slavery society and began the first fire department and first public library in America. He was one of the founders of the University of Pennsylvania, as well as the first postmaster general in America. Ben was also a successful businessman who started a life insurance company, as well as being a printer and publisher. Two of his publications, the Saturday Evening Post and Poor Richard's Almanac, are still in publication today. This homeschool graduate's insatiable appetite for learning and his ability to put his opportunities to good use led him to accomplish more during his one lifetime than many would hope to accomplish in two. Quote, do you love life? Then don't waste your time, because that is what life is made of. Close quote. Benjamin Franklin.
Opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and it looks like work. Thomas Edison.
And now, Emilie C's interview with Josiah Detweiler.
I'm here with Josiah Detweiler, HSA member and Director of Operations at Akron Fossils Science Center in Ohio. Thank you so much for being with us today. To start off, can you tell us about your homeschool background?
Emilie, I was homeschooled all through my years, I like to say, from infancy to adulthood, and I'm still learning. And I really feel the advantage for homeschooling is not only the fact that it seems to be more in line with what the Bible would teach us to do, but also I think it afforded me an opportunity to have some more delight-directed learning. Particularly in my high school years, I was given the freedom to study things along my interest within the guidelines of what I needed to accomplish during my high school years.
Tell us about the Fossil Museum. How did it come about?
Well, Bill Sanderson is a financial planner. He's the founder of the museum. And he had a vision to start a museum, and so he took it upon himself to start the museum with his own resources. And so he's done that. We opened in May of 2001 and have been slowly growing ever since. I met Bill early 2005 in January, so this was prior to the museum opening. I was at a creation seminar at a church in my area here in Akron, and he, in the middle of the seminar near lunch, gave a little word about the museum, and he had some of his pre-exhibits kind of sitting in the back of the auditorium there. And so I took a brochure and called him within the week and was volunteering there. At that time in my life, I was really looking at, I was in my last year of high school, so I was looking towards the future and what was I going to do. And I was really had a burden to do something with creation science. It was definitely an interest of mine, if not a passion. I wondered, how do you get in something like creation ministry? You get to go become a professor, and there's always that route and something we need as creation scientists. But then there's the creation evangelism ministry aspect as well that's equally needed. And so when I met Mr. Sanderson, it became very clear, I was blown away that there would be a museum in Akron of all places. And so I became involved with them. A few of my brothers and I volunteered there many Saturdays and just helped with some of the basic construction to prep the building.
What is your favorite part of the museum?
Good question. I guess I would have to say my favorite part is the Noah's Ark model. We have many different artifacts. We have real woolly mammoth bones. We have dinosaur eggs you can hold. Very neat things that are right there to be able to touch and help. It would be a toss-up between the Noah's Ark model. It's a 1/72nd scale model of Noah's Ark, which is about 6 feet long. And then the other thing that I very much like is our Ica burial stone from South America. We actually own a real Ica burial stone artifact. And there's reports that there's only 18 of these in the United States.
What are the goals of the museum? What are your personal goals with it, and what are your life goals with your career?
Well, the goals for the museum is to instill a vision of small-scale creation museums and to really reach a community on a very grassroots level. But we really want to be there for the children. If you reach the children, the adults are going to come as well. But as far as my personal goals, I really would like to begin doing creation research myself as a scientist, and so one of my goals is to make contacts with other creationists around the world, and certainly, hopefully, I'll find some local ones as well, which makes things a little more attainable as far as research goes. But I would like to be a flood geologist as well as work in paleontological environments.
All right, wait a minute. The first word you used, what does that mean?
Paleontology. Paleo means ancient or very old life, and of course, ology or logos is the study of different fields. I'm most interested in the dinosaurs, though, because that's what really captures young minds, and it captures my mind as well. These animals don't exist anymore, and they seem to capture our mind because they're large and they're intriguing. And so we've seen how the evolutionists have been able to use those dinosaurs as an icon and really a bait to bring children into really indoctrination of their worldview. And so, we hope to change that, and I think we need more paleontologists. There are few paleontologists that are creationists, and so there's a real lack in that area as far as creation scientists are concerned. And so we need to be doing our own research because we'll be we'll find things that the evolutionists are not looking for because we have a different starting point when it comes to looking at the scientific evidence.
Oh, I imagine you could make the case that if you start out with a false supposition that it handicaps you as a researcher because you're overlooking things or crossing things out in a sense that you shouldn't be crossing out as possibilities.
Right, right. A good example of that would be radioactive carbon. Scientists carbon date things. We've heard of that, and it's often used as an evidence that the Earth is old or proof. And what a lot of people don't realize is the dinosaur bones are not able to be carbon dated because carbon dating only can be effective for 150,000 years. As far as I'm speaking in the evolutionist mind, they're not able to be carbon dated. And so evolutionists don't carbon date them. But what creation scientists have done is said, hold on a minute, are we sure there's no radioactive carbon in these bones? You see, the bones are supposed to be, according to evolutionary timescale, 65 million years old. And so they're not expecting radioactive carbon to exist in these bones. But when we have carbon-dated dinosaur bones, we have found existing radioactive carbon elements still remaining. And so that is really the creationist's best friend. Carbon dating is our best friend, in fact, because it disproves the millions of years, the old age of the Earth.
Well, that's not an easy life you're carving out for yourself there in the scientific community as a creation scientist. But I certainly hope you be very successful at it.
Well, thank you. It's not an easy field, but I believe it is becoming easier as more and more secular scientists from big name universities are recognizing the bankruptness of Darwinian evolution.
How would someone contact the museum and find out more about it? Do you have a website?
Yes, for most people listening to this, our website's the best way to find us. Our web address is www.akronfossils.com. That's akronfossils.com. We also have a phone number you can call and talk to one of our staff members or even myself if I'm in the museum. Our number is 330-665-DINO. That's 330-665-3466.
Josiah, thank you so much for being with us on HSAIR today. It's been a delight to talk to you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Emily.
Thomas Carlyle was once talking to a young friend, and he asked him what his aim in life was. The young man replied that he had none. "Get one, then, and get it quick," said Carlyle sharply. "Make something your specialty. Life is a very uncertain affair. Knowing a little about 500 things won't do us much good. We must be able to do something well, that our work will be needed and valuable." Kate L. Gates.
Last, we have an update from Camden Spiller.
Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to HSAIR. It's hard to believe the summer is over. Since my last update, we've had the National Reunion, launched HSA Outreach with last month's project at Cottage Cove, and begun HSA Outdoor Adventures. It's been a busy summer, and we're looking forward to an exciting fall as HSA continues to grow. I want to start this month's update with some exciting news about the National Reunion and Homeschool Digest magazine. For nearly 18 years, Homeschool Digest has been encouraging families to take responsibility for the teaching and training of their own children. In recent years, many homeschool graduates have been given a platform to share their views and experiences in the pages of Homeschool Digest. Now, in a joint effort with homeschool alumni, Wisdomsgate Publishing has released a special HSA National Reunion issue of Homeschool Digest. It features highlights from the 2007 National Reunion and includes articles and recollections from many HSA speakers, attendees, and members. In fact, if you attended the National Reunion, you're on the cover. You'll definitely want to get a copy of this. If you weren't able to attend this year, the special reunion edition may be the next best thing. It's kind of like the reunion in your mailbox. Wisdomsgate Publishing is making this issue available to HSA members completely free of charge. Check the HSA blog for details. To receive a free copy, you do need to respond by September 30th, the end of this month, so do check the HSA blog when you have a chance. In 2008 National Reunion news, We'll officially be starting the facility search in the next few weeks, so keep an eye on the HSA blog for more details on that as well. You've probably seen bits and pieces of news about HSA outreach. Beth and Grace headed up our first outreach project last month at Cottage Cove in Nashville, Tennessee. We had a great time and accomplished everything we set out to do. We roofed, painted, built shelves, did electrical work, painted some more, and otherwise just helped out with general construction and remodeling projects they had. We enjoyed each other's company, had a great turnout, and worked together to serve this ministry in Nashville's inner city. If you missed the national reunion, you might be wondering where we're going with this HSA outreach stuff. What type of projects we're looking to do. There may be questions in your mind, and we're looking forward to answering a lot of those. Bethany Grace, Rich Phillips, and I are working to establish a framework to allow us to take on an increasing number of these projects across the country. Right now we're in the development phase, and we're trying to give more scope and definition to what HSA outreach can provide as in the way of organizational support for these type of projects. As you've heard, the next outreach project will be serving Camp David of the Ozarks in southern Missouri. For more information about that project and HSA outreach in general, check out homeschoolalumni.org/outreach. More information will be coming there soon. In the news for HSA Abroad is the September 12th women's trip to Prince Edward Island. I'll have to admit that I've seen the Anne of Green Gables movies a few times myself, and this trip promises to be really exciting for the ladies. I know they've been looking forward to it for a long time, and I'm looking forward to seeing the pictures and hearing about their adventures in Anne's Land. One last thing I did want to call your attention to is the Shop for HSA program. You might have seen this on the HSA blog as well. Basically, what you can do here is anytime you're going to shop at an online retailer, say it's Amazon.com, eBay, whatever it is, wherever you like to shop, go to homeschoolalumni.org/shop for HSA. That's shop and the number 4 HSA. From there, you'll see a list of online retailers, and we're adding to that list pretty much daily. Find the online retailer. If it's Amazon, you can just, go down there and click on the Amazon link. It'll take you to the Amazon store, and from there, you just, you make your purchase like normal. But when you do, if you do it after clicking on the link at homeschoolalumni.org/shop for HSA, Amazon will give a percentage of that sale back to Homeschool Alumni as a referral commission. This is one thing that we can do to help financially support the work of Homeschool Alumni without, it's really no out-of-pocket expense. So as you go out shopping, do remember homeschoolalumni.org/shop for HSA. Until next time, I hope you guys have a great month, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Lord bless you.
Well, that's it for this edition of HSAIR. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. As for now, this is Eric Van Vleet signing off.
Hello, I am this month's mystery guest. Who do you think I am? Well, after you finish listening to this program, please go to the foyer on the HSA forum, and you'll see a poll with 4 names on it. One of those names is mine. And which one do you think I am? And I know most of you never heard my voice either. So thanks for listening to this month's edition of HSAIR, and I'll see you around the forum.